Cyberpunk doesn't perform that well on the Xbox, and you might have been suggested to change up some of the settings to improve and stabilize the performance. But for now, those are just suggestions. I don't know if anyone's actually tested to see if it actually makes a difference. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna test it out. First, we're gonna compare the Series X on the default settings to ones where you turn off all of these graphical settings. Also, I am in performance mode because that prioritizes frame rate. On the left here are the default, on the right is everything turned off. So here's a comparison, and right at the end I'll give you some of my feedback.
Some kind of euthanasia. I ain't scare you.
I don't deserve this.
Alright, so what we saw there, for me at least, it doesn't really show much of a difference. I mean, there were times where we still saw dips below 40 frames per second into the 30s. So definitely changing the graphical settings, for me at least, on the Series X doesn't really change much at all.
V, guy named Max Jones needs help. He might disagree, but if you don't get to this stubborn gump first, he's as good as dead. Max is a media and a good friend of mine. Need you to bring him.
Here's the same comparison on the original Xbox One. On the left we have the default, on the right we have all the graphical settings turned off. And the first sequence here is again that same cruise we did on the Series X. And the second sequence will be a stroll through that same market in the city, and then at the end there I will get into a bit of a fight.
But you are not the masters of your memory. But you are not the masters of your memory.
the feeder for days now. Glued to the feeder for days now.
So overall for the Xbox One, I noticed a couple of things. First, the frame rate might be a little bit better. I mean, we're talking 2 or 3 frames here. On the default settings, we do see drops as low as 13 frames per second, whereas with the graphical settings off, it for the most part stayed above 15. However, with the graphics settings off, I found a number of other issues. One, the rendering is worse. You can see this stall right here that takes forever to render where we have the graphical settings turned off. Also, when I got into this battle here, you can see the weapon just takes, it takes minutes just to render. In fact, I couldn't even aim. I mean, the crosshairs, the weapon, they just don't appear on the screen. Here you can see it's like half of the weapon that's rendered. Two, I did see more lag spikes. You can see one right here. And number 3, at a later time, I actually had issues loading up the game. It would just get stuck at this loading screen. I had to restart my Xbox, go into the main menu, settings, turn all the graphical settings to default, and then finally the game was able to load up again. So yeah, overall, messing around with the settings doesn't really do anything good. So for me, I think you just leave them alone, just wait for CD Projekt Red to hopefully fix the bugs and the issues with this game. But here's the thing, I think on the original Xbox, this game will never, ever likely get fixed. The issues are just too large. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to smash that like button, sub to the channel because there's a ton of gaming content coming your way.